Sometimes when we send things out from our gear website store, we like to say thank you. Here we go.
Right, I have a suspicion that Guns and Barbecue is one of the people to thank for this video, but the other person to thank would be Brooke Cheney. So we have a giant order at our gear website store, and we appreciate that. Orders from our store help us keep our projects online, help us pay our server bills and pay for the software that we use to keep our projects running. We do appreciate that. Now, Brooke bought a bunch of stuff. She bought 4 decks of cards, 2 decks of the other, or 4 decks of one of our cards, 2 decks of the other, and then she bought a Wolverine patch. And I'm guessing these are for gifts, because unless she's doing something like what Clover Tag does, where he shoots the cards, people don't usually go through that many decks of cards. So we're doing a thank you Thursday here, and we're going to throw a bunch of stuff in because, well, it's Brooke, and she does the Suicide Awareness Saturdays, as well as her Great Start Shooting School, offers some online courses and other things. So she's an activist. She's a delegate in Connecticut for the DC project, and just doing great stuff. So cool to have an opportunity to send stuff to her. I'm going to put everything into this medium flat rate box. Here's the deal. You never want to use postal stuff incorrectly, but as a courtesy, I'm going to send her this unused bubble wrap envelope, and I'll just set it here in the bottom of the box. And if that cushions the rest of the items, so be it. She can still use this. Right, so let's start off. We're going to fulfill her order first, and I think what she ordered was 4 decks of our Old West Guns playing cards. These are a deck of cards that we did as a kind of a, how do you say it, like a informational thing. We did the research for this, we created the cards and laid them out, figured out how to print them. We did all that stuff live. We did that in what we call the 2A media workshops, in an attempt to show people the process. I didn't know how to build any. Well, I guess I had done some playing cards before this, but I'm no playing card expert. I didn't go to school for playing cards. I just walked everybody through the process that I had done before for our AK-47 deck, and we made a deck focused on Old West guns. So this was an interesting deck. The reason we chose Old West Gun is we're here in Tucson, so we have a lot of opportunity to see guns of the Old West. I used to hang out at a shop called Tucson Guns. Actually, let me pause this for a moment. These are the inserts that we include with the Old West guns, and they'll explain the situation. So we were hanging out at the gun shop here in Tucson called Tucson Guns, and Bob, the owner of the shop, knows the people at the Western Heritage Museum down in Tucson. I knew the people at some of the other places in Tucson, and at that time Cody Museum seemed to be on board with it, so unfortunately they're marked here too. That turned out to be unfortunate. Anyway, we did it as a Kickstarter campaign, in other words, a crowd-funded campaign. We raised enough funds to have the cards published here in the United States. We made these in Texas, and again, we focused them on guns of the Old West because our friends here in Tucson are so interested in it. We had access to the museum to get photographs of guns. Our friends at the Rock Island auction allowed us to use some photos, and then we had experts like Emil and Bob here in Tucson. Emil passed as we were creating the deck, so we dedicated the deck to him. We had our friends over on Gun Channels, an online community at the time that was very active, help us out. So it was really a group effort to get the cards made, and we did all that in segments on a series of videos called the 2A Media Workshop. You can go back onto our YouTube channel and find all that. And again, the goal was to offer a deck of cards that were interesting. Our prior deck of cards had silhouettes, so this was an attempt to get some color into the cards. We had the cartridges on the cards. It's not real evident here. I picked ones that were black powder, but we had the cartridges included, some statistics about the cards, some interesting facts, nicknames, that kind of thing, inventors when possible. And the idea is then you could play cards and learn something, and it was hopefully aesthetically pleasing. It was also an effort to collaborate, to get a bunch of people together from different realms to work on a project together. Real proud of that deck. Again, we had these printed in the USA, in Texas, so that gave us an opportunity to have a new relationship with the printer in Texas. And then we took that experience the next year, I guess, and tried the Firearms Inventors playing card deck. So while that one took me creatively from the silhouettes of the AK-47 deck and then into the color photos, this one was a step further. We created illustrations, again, designed everything, formatted everything, did everything live, let people offer their input, and the goal was to offer a bit of our firearms history through the 52 cards in the deck. Each suit is a different realm, so we have the U.S. inventors, the foreign inventors, military, and then some of the unique stuff all over the world. So some of the flags here show the kind of countries that are included. The firearms, the inventors, the high points in their careers, their adventures, and a lot of stuff. So this was a fun experience, and well, we're running low on all of these, but looking forward to what we can do next with the deck of cards. So anyway, she had ordered 4 of the Old West guns, and she ordered 2 of the Firearms Inventors. So we're going to send her 5 decks of each, assuming those are gifts. Now she has a couple to keep and some to use as gifts. We'll include 5 of the inserts that went along with the Old West Guns deck back when we published them. In addition, she purchased one of our Wolverines in the Wolverine pose, right? So I'm going to send her a couple of those in case those are gifts, and then include one of the baby Yoda dudes doing the same thing from one of our patch batches. As I mentioned, Brooke is the delegate for DC Project in Connecticut, so both of those organizations were included in our last patch batch. So one of my last DC Project patches, and then a couple of the Connecticut Citizens Defense League patches. We had them done in white on black, but they couldn't decide if they liked them better this way, so we decided to have them made both ways. And next up is a set of Gun Channels patches. These are from the Gun Channels community, lasted from 2013 to 2020. Active community, lots of content creators there. Over the years, we had a couple of runs of patches, thanks to Pink Panther and Marco. I don't know if these are in chronological order, but we've got the white in pink, the black and white, first ones, the black on pink, and then this is a glow-in-the-dark black and white. So a selection of those, just so even though she wasn't around for the Gun Channels community, Gun Channels still does technically still exist. We have an Every Second Matters patch in here. I'm not sure if she's has any of these yet, but I had an extra one, so that one's headed out. Additionally, the 2A rally flags. These are the 2019 versions, so this glows. These were the rally that happened in Washington, D.C. I have a couple extra of those that we'll be sending, as well as another activist, a Second Amendment awareness champion. Tony Simon has the 2A4E diversity shoot. Again, from that patch batch, I have a couple of those left over. There was a error in shipping. UPS had lost the patches headed to Clover in Texas and Tony in New Jersey. So that was a rerun of the patches, and I happen to have extras because I didn't want another issue to happen. And then finally, last stuff on the table here is some of our publications. We print some things, and we started out with our almanac in 2019. Of course, with the craziness of 2020, that was turned out to be a pretty difficult thing to do. We did make a 2020 almanac, however, and this is an attempt to archive the year of the firearms community. So it digs right into the table of contents and a schedule of events for the year. We have a bit of history here to look backwards. Then each page is a different week. And as you go through the pages at the bottom, the right side of each page is focusing on the Second Amendment organization or shooting sport, thing like that. The right side is going to feature museums and information about the infrastructure, maybe some stuff about shooting ranges or clubs. We have anniversaries of firearms being invented, being incorporated into service. We have the birth dates of everyone we can find in the firearms community, inventors. We have some military holidays in here. Of course, every Second Amendment event that happens, every shooting event that is at national level that we knew about when we printed this one. And the attempt is to have sort of a visual version for those of us that have that kind of tendency to learn more through illustrations and kind of a visual arrangement, to fill the page, to attempt to make it as much like an almanac as possible, since there's 50 pages or so. Each page has the state's constitution and the date that it was admitted into the nation, and those are in chronological order. There's also some other fun stuff like quizzes on the inside. What do you call this part? The spine or something? So each page has a quiz, and each subsequent page has the answers to the page before. So you can use this as sort of a Second Amendment quiz book. And then on this side of every page, we've got a quote. So just hopefully quotes that have something to do with either what's going on that date or that week, or with what's happening as far as anniversaries and stuff. And then finally some timelines, some just history type archiving, shooting sports, and NRA shows and shot shows and things like that. I have an entire page here dedicated to some of the live podcasting, some of the live content that goes out. This was our attempt at a evolution of the Second Amendment community and organizations and efforts, at least the one that I had up to 2020. This has evolved quite a bit since then. And then just some shouts out to the different bloggers, researchers, and other folks who are doing the work that don't necessarily have channels that get them out there in front of everybody. And finally, because 2020 had started out to be such an amazing year, a couple of pages dedicated to the rallies. And just look how many rallies had been scheduled in 2019 for 2020. Unfortunately, most of these had been canceled, and now in the end of 2021, most of these haven't been attended, or haven't proceeded in the last couple of years. However, looking forward, I have at least 4 or 5 already in the list for 2022. We've got some other things like the anniversaries of things like when states passed the when they ended the prohibition on hunting with suppressors, so that people have some of those kind of facts and stats available. A list of the big gun shows that happen around the country, and then finally just the back page here is some of our projects and stuff. So the Shooter's Almanac, something I was pretty happy with. It was an interesting project, doesn't seem to get a lot of attention, but we're going to attempt to try one again for 2022. I'll send one of those to Brooke, and then we got the Firearms Museum Passport book is what I'm calling it. And as we tour with the Gun Show Loophole Tour, I don't know, many years now, a couple of loops around the country, one of the things we focused on is the firearms museums, and this is just 30 of the ones that we visited. Not everyone on this list, but it's all of these. Each page is a different museum. It tells you about the museum, its accessibility, its photography situations, the admission, contact information, history about it, how many firearms they have, and we're giving them all a little passport stamp to give it some consistency. We've drawn illustrations of each of the museums, and again, the idea is to learn about the museums, where they are. If you know where they are, you might plan to visit them. If you have a conversation with someone and they are looking for something to do, you can let them know about the different museums. So this was a book that we came up with last year, and is available on the Gear website store. But we're going to send one of those to Brooke as well. And then lastly, our little catalog and collector's guide. So we do a lot of stuff, and a lot of it is limited, but a lot of the stuff is available like this. So in order to keep track of it all and to keep track of your collection, we have most everything listed in here. And you got a little check mark. I know a couple of people are using this as their collector's guide to see if they can collect everything that we've done. And we appreciate the people that do that, because really that, again, keeps our servers online. It pays for the Photoshop and the software that we use to keep everything running. And eventually, when it's practical, get back on the road, experience some more of the events that are happening out there, archive and share those with folks. Okay, I guess lastly, there's a kind of a happening going on right now. I don't know what to call it, until December 15th. I don't know when this video will post, but I want to thank Guns and Barbecue in any case. He's encouraging folks to purchase stuff at our gear website store. Every purchase of $20 or more is going to be in the running for a thermos that looks like a shotgun shell that he's given away. And I'm going to have to find, I think I know what box it might be in, but we used to have some chargers that look like shotgun shells, and if I can find it, we'll include that as well. But what's going to Brooke is this 3D printed version or version of the Guns and Barbecue logo. Turkey leg with the revolver, his logo's written across it. It's not perfect. I'm going to have to retweak it a little bit. After I printed it here, I figured out that it is pretty fragile up here, but as long as Brooke isn't throwing it around, dropping it downstairs or whatever, it should be okay. And this is a way to say thanks. I know that Barbecue had her on, and she's been watching some of Barbecue's chats and things, and I suspect that's where she found out about our gear website store and the contest. So we're going to send a smaller version, one that's maybe this big, to everybody, but Brooke is going to get this big giant one. And you might be able to hear it in the background, this other one to replace that one that's going to Brooke. So assuming this one prints okay, it looks like it's doing okay, knock on wood. We should have one to replace that, because we are going to send one of these big 3D logos out to someone randomly, I guess, who purchases stuff before December 15th. So if this goes live in that amount of time, consider checking out our gear website store. If it happens after that time, still consider checking out our gear website store. Again, it supports the projects that we do that allow us to create the stuff that we've got here, and we appreciate that. So we want to focus this on Brooke. Thanks for supporting us, but thanks more for your work with the Suicide Prevention Saturdays each week. 2 out of every 3 firearms related deaths is suicide. So if we want to accomplish saving lives without touching laws or our ability to own property, let's not dismiss mental health awareness and suicide prevention. It's been ultimately effective to bring up some of Brooke's suggestions and the concept of Brooke's project with people who claim to be gun people, who either just want to ignore suicide because it's uncomfortable or disregard it as a technique from the other side. But again, there's so much opportunity, and thanks to Brooke for putting a consistent, deliberate effort towards awareness. And hopefully this is a way to say thanks, and thanks to our Patreons who make it possible for me to just put this much stuff in a box and send it to Brooke, along with what she already purchased. So everybody, thank you very much. Have a great new year. Looking forward to even more and eventually some more growth.
So let us know what you think. We'll be watching the comments wherever you find the video, over on gunstreamer.com or on guntube.org.
Thank you for supporting our projects. If you'd like to buy us a cup of coffee, check out our Patreon channel.
The guys and gals at gunwebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thank you for watching gunwebsites.com.